What up? What up? This is Chris Asbrock from FieldImpactSports.com, and I am back for an incredible game with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. It's a little longer than I normally would have. It's a little almost 5:30, and I was at the game, so that's why it's taking me a little longer here to post this. But just an incredible game today. Definitely another game where the roller coaster of emotions, because to start off, let's be honest. I mean, I was not real happy with the way everything was going. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals, they looked listless. They didn't seem like they really wanted to care. They wanted to play. They didn't look like they really cared as much. It kind of seemed like it was more of a letdown game, from the big win from last week against the Atlanta Falcons. And then looking ahead to your hated rival in the Pittsburgh Steelers the following week, this seemed like a perfect trap game, and a game that you could really be, caught and taken down. And that's really how it started off. The Miami Dolphins, things just, like I said, things just really weren't, it just wasn't, it didn't feel right to start off, is kind of the best way to put it. The Bengals, the Dolphins won the coin toss, and they elected to receive, and they went 7 plays. Only got 28 yards. They did get 2 first downs out of that, but then the Bengals forced the punt. Bengals drove right down the field, 11 plays, 77 yards. And then the Andy Dalton interception, which, it happened pretty much right in front of us. I'm not going to put any blame on Andy on that one. He threw the ball where A.J. Green was supposed to be on the route. A.J. Green was being held and turned sideways, and to me there should have been a penalty on that one, at least for illegal contact. In my eyes, at least that's what I saw looking right at it. So then after that, the Bengals, their defense forced Miami to punt once again. And then, the Bengals, they just couldn't get anything going, really, is how it was, kind of rolling. Obviously, they got nothing to go on their first 6 drives. They got nothing. And, you're compared to the first 6 drives of the Dolphins, they just, they got, 4 punts, I'm sorry, and then a touchdown and a field goal. So based off of that right there, you're looking at, not a good situation when you're being outscored like they were. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, you just kind of shake your head a couple times. The defense did not look very good. They looked like they were, being run rampant there for a little bit. Just missed tackles. I mean, it was not a pretty first half for this team. I mean, looking here at the stats there, Dolphins had 10 first downs in the first half compared to the Bengals 8. Bengals couldn't get any first downs rushing. Third down, the Dolphins were only 2 of 5 in that first half. So the Bengals did a good job of actually minimizing the damage on third down, defensively. But then, on the flip side, the offense couldn't get anything going. They were 0 for 5. They ran virtually the same amount of offensive plays. The Bengals ran 1 play more offensively than what the Dolphins did, and gained 7 fewer yards. So kind of looking at it, I mean, you would hope that you would see, signs of life from this team to start off in this first half, and then you didn't see that at all. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was 12 of 18 that first half for 114 yards with a touchdown, and Dalton on the flip side was 11 of 16 for 141. I mean, he looked solid. Like I said, he did have the 1 interception, but then rushing, Joe Mixon couldn't get anything going. The offensive line was atrocious. In all fairness, they were atrocious really all game. Cordy Glenn, wow. Cordy Glenn he wasn't very good, plain and simple. Cordy Glenn he hasn't been good really in his 4 starts here or 5 starts here in Cincinnati. He has not looked good. Not the guy that we traded for. Plain and simple, he has not looked good at all. And I mean, when Andy Dalton is under pressure like he was, I got to give a lot of credit to Andy Dalton for making plays and getting out of the situations he was put in. He had to use his legs and made a couple big plays to, basically to move the chains or at least get out of a sack. And that's what he did. And major props to Andy Dalton for that, because, things really could have gone sideways. And, they just, they didn't let it happen. So finally this team was able to come back and make things happen. I mean, both AJ Green and Tyler Boyd were targeted 5 times in that first half, and each had 3 receptions. AJ with 54 yards in that first half compared to 37 for Tyler Boyd. Alex Erickson comes through again on that first half. He was 2 of 2 for 18 yards. CJ Uzomah did a great job of a couple plays where he would catch the ball, and then some good yards after contact. And yes, special teams definitely does need work. You're right. I'll definitely be touching that here soon. But overall, they really stumbled to get out of their own way in that first half. And I mean, honestly, the vibe in the stadium was not very good. And there was a lot of Dolphins fans there today, a lot more than I expected, and they were making it pretty loud. And you look at at that product that was put out there today, and you shake your head because you expected a lot more, a lot better from them. Especially, this is what we felt this team was going to be. At least I did. I felt that they were going to be a 12-6 team, and hell, the way they played that first half, I mean, I was thinking 9-7, and then Nick was like, hey, welcome to 6-10. Like, that's how bad they looked, and they didn't deserve, based off of the way the first half went, they didn't deserve to be where they were in a game that was only 14-0 at the half. It felt like a lot worse, and they were. That's very true. Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins, they had all the momentum, and that's really how it was. But then, the Bengals, I got to give them all the credit in the world, because they made adjustments. Finally, they made adjustments, and they came out, and it kind of felt like it was starting to turn in that second half. And your first half or your first drive of the second half, you go 3 and out, and you have to punt. It's like, okay, well, we had a good run, and then Miami goes down and scores, on the field goal after after the way the first half ended, you got on punt, and then Miami goes down and scores on a field goal. You're down 17-0. It didn't feel good at all, and it just like I said, things just didn't seem to be looking up for us. You had the blocked field goal, and it just was. It was tough. It was really, really tough that first half. The vibe in the stadium was down. It was negative. But again, a lot of props to the Bengals, the defense, because the Bengals defense stepped up and made plays when they needed to, and they didn't do it in the first half. There was a lot of missed tackles. Hardy Nickerson, my God, that guy. I mean, he struggled, and it's noted that guy, he can't tackle, and he sure as hell can't cover, because the touchdown pass was, wow. I mean, he was wide open. You could see that Vontaze Burfict, he chewed Hardy Nickerson's ass after that play. After they're going back to the sideline, Burfict had his helmet off, and he was giving it to Hardy Nickerson for obviously either whether it might have been blown coverage or just I don't know what it was, but Burfict was giving it to him, and you can definitely tell this is a completely different defense when Burfict is on the field. Plain and simple. This is a much not a more violent defense, but they play harder. They play with a lot of purpose when Tez is on the field, and you could tell he was he was jacked. He was raring to go today. And that first half, I mean, he was making plays. He was all over the field making tackles. He led the Bengals in tackles in the first half. But then, like I said, things, they needed to make that play in the second half, and they finally did that. They held. If you look at the drive summary, for the Dolphins at the end, I mean, they got, they had the let's see here, they had the field goal to start off, and then the farthest they went on a drive was 38 yards, and that was the very last play of the very last drive that they had. So their drives in the second half consisted of 6 plays, 13 yards, 3 plays, 9 yards, 5 plays, 14 yards, 6 plays, 30 yards, 3 plays, -2, 5 plays, 20. And then, the Bengals, they get the 2 touchdowns that sealed it. But then you could tell that the momentum really started to swing when they get the touchdown, with the Joe Mixon touchdown, where Andy Dalton does a fantastic job of making the play and getting the ball to Joe Mixon, who comes back for it, makes the catch, and gets in the end zone. That right there was a huge momentum swing. And then, once you see that, it, you could, like I said, you could kind of feel that it was really starting to really turn. And once Mixon got in the end zone, it was like, okay, here we are. Things are starting to, they're looking up here. And let's see here, let's go. That third quarter, let's see here, yeah. So they, the Sanders 42-yard field goal. And the Bengals get the ball. It was, the touchback. Alex Erickson just didn't get a chance to really do much. But then Randy Bullock, he kicks that 51-yard field goal. So it's 17-3. So they were able to get points. If they had not gotten points on that drive, that was their second drive of the half. Things really, it doesn't look as good. And you're down 17-0 then. You're not, in all fairness, they're not coming back from that. I truly don't think if Bullock doesn't nail that field goal coming off of the block field goal that he had earlier, this team's not coming back and win this game. But then, the Dolphins had a couple huge penalties to where, the unsportsmanlike, the Bengals hold the Dolphins to a 3-and-out, and then, you get Alex Erickson, who, he fields the punt and, goes right, gets knocked out of bounds, and then Spite stands over top of him and starts jawing, and then there you go, you get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. The Bengals were on the 14-yard line, and now you get the ball to 29, so you get an extra 15 yards. It's things like that it really seemed to, the tide really seemed to turn for this team, and, it felt good, finally. Because in all seriousness, it didn't seem... It didn't seem, like things were looking up for us. But then once, get a couple breaks coming our way, and after that, and there you go, things start to snowball, and then the defense starts. The defense played, they played fantastic, and you could tell they were feeding off the energy in that second half. After getting, not dominated in the first half, but they just couldn't, you couldn't get really any momentum when you see the offense playing like they did. And, Andy Dalton was, he was under pressure. Good God, for the majority of that game. He was constantly rolling out and constantly under pressure and having to scramble. And, I got to give Andy Dalton a ton of credit for it, because he was making plays when he had to in crucial times. And the Bengals were able to get it done. And that's what happened here. Then you get plays by Michael Johnson on that pick six that just happened to, it bounced off the helmet of the offensive lineman right into the hands of Michael Johnson, who scampers for 22 yards. That was right at us in the end zone. We were going nuts. And then, things just, like I said, and then things started to snowball. You kind of felt, once that tied it up, it was... You had that feeling this was going to go our way, and this game wasn't going to get out of hand. And, the Bengals, they forced them to punt. And then, you're tied at 17. Then, like I said, you force the Dolphins to punt. And then you drive down the field on 9 plays, 62 yards. It goes 4 minutes, and then you get points out of that. So, therefore, you take the lead with just, with 3:30 to go. And it's like, okay, now the defense, has to step up, make a play. sure enough, on a 3rd and 17, they step up and make the play. You know, it was, they're calling it a fumble. I didn't see. I knew it ended up in the hands of Hubbard. I thought it was, personally, I thought it was an interception, but obviously it was not. It looks like, according to the game book, it's showing it was a fumble. So it looks like it was a forced fumble by Carlos Dunlap, and then right into the hands of Sam Hubbard, who, you know, he scampered 19, and that place exploded. It was just awesome. And that, you know, they got it going. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun, you know, and it felt good once again to feel that again here in that stadium. You know, when it was, you know, when things were looking, you know, bleak. It wasn't good at, you know, in that first, you know, the first half of that game, and even the first part of the 3rd quarter. It just didn't feel good, honestly, until the first, you know, well, obviously the first play, like the 4th quarter on the Mixon touchdown. But other than that, I mean, I got to give the defense credit, you know, for making plays, because they did. You know, overall, you know, they were, you know, they got, you know, they made plays when they had to, and that's exactly what it was. I was going to say, Philip, thanks for, reminds me of that Seahawks game from a few years ago. That's exactly what it felt like. You know, you make, the Bengals did, you know, you make plays again in big situations, and that's what the Bengals did. You look at, you know, the longest plays for the Dolphins were, you know, it was a 25-yard play on that 4th and 10, but that was right at the end of the game, so that really didn't, you know, that wasn't, you know, that big of a deal. But, you know, on a 1st and 10, you give up a 22-yarder, but there was only one play, well, there was 2 plays actually, but it was, you know, on 3rd down where the Dolphins, you know, got significant yards. The 3rd and 16, they were able to get an 18-yard play to Kenyon Drake, who did a great job of sliding past a few guys, and, you know, he slid past Nick Vigil and was able to get a few more yards, converted that first down. That was a big one there, but, you know, that was in the that was in the 4th quarter. That was right at the beginning of that. But then right after that, you know, a 3rd and 21 in the 4th quarter, you know, you get, it was, like I said, a 3rd and 21, which this play here I think was absolutely, this was crucial. And I got to give a shout out to Sam Hubbard again, who on that 3rd and 21, he dumps it off to Kenyon Drake, who Hubbard went to the ground. He got up and sprinted down and chased Kenyon Drake and tackled him for only a 13-yard gain on a 3rd and 21. So, yeah, he was off by 8 yards, but that is a huge play to prevent a much bigger play from occurring. You know, if he gets that first down there, you know, God only knows what happens after that. But the Bengals, you know, their defense, you know, they kind of made you question a little bit. You know, you question them a little bit right after, you know, after watching that first half, because, you know, the special teams, I mean, that, you know, they just, oh man, like what the heck happened there? You know, you give up a special teams punt return, which was, you know, missed tackles, and just, you know, there's nothing really much you can say about that. You know, that was a little, you know, frustrating. But, you know, when you watch the guy take it to the house on a punt return, you know, that's pretty maddening. Let's see here. I'm trying to get to the part here. Let's see. Yeah, they said Grant was out of bounds at the 2, but they overruled that. So I mean, that right there with 40 seconds left, you know, you're kind of like, man, here we go again. And then the Bengals take the knee to drop that, you know, the final. Yeah, kickers definitely need protection. That's you know what? That's exactly right. When Huber has the ball, basically about, you know, we got lucky on that one. I didn't see it, didn't look, and you know, Miami had to challenge that call, that the running of the kicker. That was a huge play. Obviously, the Bengals got nothing out of that, but you know, our special teams unit, I mean, it was not one of their finer games, plain and simple. They just, you know, there was a couple things that it just, you know, all you could do was shake your head. You know, the punt return touchdown by Grant, I mean, that was, like I said, a lot of that was poor tackling. Did a great job of taking it to the house. I mean, you got to give a guy credit for doing that. It takes it takes a lot to return something for a touchdown, especially on a long punt return like that. So you go 71 yards on that punt return right at the end of the half. Again, that's when, like I said, you're not really feeling too positive. The offense or the defense had only given up 7 points at that point in time, and you're starting to feel like, okay, the defense wasn't playing too bad. It was kind of a bend but don't break situation for them in that first half. But then you get a play here and there, and then it kind of snowballs. And like I said, it's a different team when Vontaze Burfict's on the field. He gets those guys jacked, and he gets them all over the place. They were making plays when they had to, and that is the most crucial part of this game, was the fact that they made plays when they had to. And it's about time that this defense stepped up like they had to and make a play. And it's not that they haven't all year, and I'm not going to crap on them, because I think they're one of the best defensive units in the league. I truly believe that. Win 55's on the field, because when he's not, obviously we saw what this defense is about. They do struggle, but it's crucial that these guys stay on the field and stay healthy and make plays, because that's what this is what can happen when your guys stay on the field and make plays. That's what you need to have. And Philip, you're bringing a ton of good points here today. I got to give you a tip of the cap, man. That's Dre. I'm a guy who, and I've said it numerous times before, Dre Kirkpatrick he's a very good, serviceable cornerback in the NFL, and I've said it numerous times. He does have some weaknesses that are exploitable, and the teams. There's a lot of teams that know how to exploit those weaknesses. But I joke about it. I've joked about it prior with Nick about he's saying that he said it before, and I agree. I don't think he's worth the money we're paying him. But damn well what would have happened, because the rumor was that Pittsburgh really wanted him, and Pittsburgh was going to sign him to a pretty big contract. Darn well, if Dre goes to Pittsburgh, he's going to be an all-pro shutdown corner. But Dre, man, tip of the cap to you, big guy. You stepped up and played out of your mind today. You did a fantastic job, and I got to give you a ton of credit, because you made some great plays on a couple of those to knock the ball down, and some great pass defense. It's plays like that from you that it was great. And William Jackson had a couple dropped interceptions that we thought we could have had, but count on the defensive lineman to get those. So there you go. But overall, again, it was just it was quite the. This was the game of the highs and lows. The first half was. It was low. It was mighty low. But they, obviously they came back, and they were at the top of their game, and they were able to make it happen right at the end. And the Bengals, they got it done. So a 27-17 victory for the Cincinnati Bengals moves them to 4-1 on the season. And they continue to roll on, and they go back at it now again next week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's it's going to be a fun atmosphere once again in Paul Brown Stadium next Sunday at 1 o'clock. So it's going to be a lot better now coming off this victory, because like I said, if you don't pull this game out, things could look a lot different, especially after Pittsburgh puts a hurting on the Atlanta Falcons like they did today. You go in there at 3-2 and off a bad loss like today wouldn't have been real pretty. But the Bengals got it done, and again they moved to 4-1 on the season. So props to them. They get it going, and we're heading, like I said, into a huge game against the Pittsburgh Steelers with a lot of momentum. That's right. The Rat Burns lose, so 2 up in the division. Houday, you got that right, man. You got that right. Thank you, as always, for watching and checking it out. Follow me on Twitter at I am Chris Asbrock, and then make sure you check out. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I didn't get a chance to put up the game preview for today. I was busy with the UFC 229 coverage, which I will be doing a podcast on that most likely either tonight or tomorrow. That'll be posted on Anchor, my Anchor website, anchor.fm. /Chris Asbrock. So make sure you check that out. Now the link's on the website, feeltheimpactsports.com. As always, thank you guys. And again, make sure you check out myself on Twitter at I am Chris Asbrock, and check out feeltheimpactsports.com. And I will be back next week, hopefully to discuss another Bengals victory. Going to be much needed, because it's going to be big. Because we got to go to we have to go to Kansas City in 2 weeks, and I don't really feel too confident about that. But it all starts one game at a time. So let's make it happen tomorrow on next Sunday against Pittsburgh Steelers. And as always, thank you guys, and have yourselves a fantastic rest of your weekend. Have a good one. See ya.